Welcome to the Renegade Health Boss podcast, where we push the boundaries of what's possible in health and wellness. I'm your host, Heather Gray, a certified functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and certified bioenergetic practitioner. And each week we dive deep into the world of physical, mental, spiritual health, biohacking, relationships. But we're not just talking about the basics. I'm bringing you conversations with the true renegades, experts who are challenging the status quo in their fields, breaking barriers, and uncovering the real truth behind what it takes to live an incredible, joy-filled, and optimized life. If you're ready to step out of the ordinary and step into a life of extraordinary health and happiness, you're in the right place. Let's get started on this journey to becoming your own Renegade Health Boss. And before we jump in, let's hear a word from our sponsor. You're already empowering your patients to lead a healthier, more vibrant lives. As a practitioner, you're at the forefront of extending their health span, promoting strength, vitality, and overall wellness. It all begins with the right support, trusted high-quality nutritional supplements. At MHP Vitamins, we provide premium, practitioner-grade supplements designed to support the unique needs of your patients. Whether they're fighting inflammation, boosting energy, or enhancing immune function, our scientifically backed formulas help them thrive. As a trusted practitioner, your recommendations make a significant impact. At MHP Vitamins, we're committed to providing you with the tools to continue supporting your patients on their journey towards ideal health. The premium supplements are carefully formulated to target specific health concerns and deliver the essential nutrients your patients need to thrive. Dedicated to making sure your practice runs effortlessly by offering top-tier customer care, same-day shipping, and the efficacy of our new office and warehouse. Through our affiliate program, you can extend these benefits directly to your patients and provide them with trusted, high-quality products while providing a valuable partnership that supports both you and your patient's health span and your practice. Join the growing community of health professionals who trust MHP Vitamins to empower their patients' health journeys. Together, we can support wellness, one patient at a time. Yay! Welcome, Hemal, to the show.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing excellent. I've been looking forward to this talk for weeks and weeks, even though I'm like in the middle of traveling and it's insane. And I really wanted to reschedule, but I was like, no, I can't because I've been chasing you down. I want to talk to you. And so
I
I'm
was I
super
was
excited.
thinking the exact same thing as well.
Shut up,
Such a
really?
busy day. I'm like, I should just cancel, but I'm like, no, we'll do it. So it's good.
Do you want, since we're both here, do you want to reschedule or do we want to just
No,
keep
let's
going?
do it. Let's
Let's
do
do
it.
it. All right, cool. Fantastic. Yeah, it's only 30 minutes. But man, what you're doing in the world with Dr. Joe Dispenza, the biology of meditation, the source, like if you haven't watched that, I highly, highly recommend it. And it was funny, I kind of fangirled a little bit after meeting you at Dave Asprey's conference. And then I watched the source and I was like, hey, that's who I'm gonna interview. Like I was all starstruck.
Well, it's good. Have you been? I can't remember. Have you been to a Joe event already or no?
I haven't. I have almost all of his meditations downloaded that
Okay.
I listen to regularly. I've seen him speak at the biohacking conference. I've seen him speak
Yep.
at Mindshare, but no, I haven't had a chance to go yet. It's on my vision board.
Okay. Well, move it up on your vision board. It's amazing, I think. I was just at the Nashville week long last week, and I think Source is making an impact, right? About 85% of the audience was new to an event.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
exciting.
So it was good.
That's exciting. So tell us a little bit about your background, and how you kind of got started in this type of work. It's still a little on the fringe side, right? When we talk about the biology of meditation, but we're hoping to make it not so fringe and more mainstream because this is the really piece that helps move the needle with a lot of folks. I know it was in my own health journey until
Yeah.
I dialed this piece in, I kept relapsing and kept relapsing. And so it's
Right.
such a huge, I mean, it's actually required reading for my clients that work with me. They have to read Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself before I'll even start working with them because they
Yeah.
have to get out of their own way,
Their
right?
own way. Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. So I, born in India, moved to the U.S. when I was 6. Grew up mostly in the Midwest, and I had a really sort of interest in biology and science. And when you're an Indian kid, you have two choices. You become a doctor or a lawyer. And so science was what I was good at. When I got to college, I majored in biology, but I went to a small liberal arts school where you had to explore other areas. And so I took a intro to philosophy class, fell in love with philosophy, and took a lot of philosophy religion, which is how I got sort of into this space. In college, I had a guru who taught me how to breathe and meditate and do all kinds of crazy things. And I swear, I was at a point where felt like I was levitating, and I probably, was at that space. And then life and everything happens, and you forget everything. And so then I went to grad school, got my PhD, and never really thought much about that, right? I would still use some of the breathing exercises and my mantras and things like that, but it wasn't a daily practice. And then fast forward 20 plus years, I've started my career at UCSD. I've been here about 22 years now. We've been doing lots of work in different areas of biology. And then a few years ago, one of my good friends who I shared an office with for a decade, who's also in Source, Toby Muller-Bertram. So Toby and I hung out together for a long time, and the idea was we were going to start working on something. We never worked on anything together, and he left and became a really successful private pain physician. And when the opioid crisis hit, he started experimenting with alternative ways to manage pain in his clinic. And one of the practitioners in his clinic, Hillary Hamilton, who's all, I mean, these are the cast of characters, right? Hillary's also in Source. She was a Joe person, and she started doing Joe meditations in his clinic, and they saw some amazing effects on pain. And Toby finally then, Joe had visited his clinic, and Toby finally went to a week-long event and was blown away. And he went up to Joe and said, "We need to study this." And Joe said, "I know." And Toby's like, "I know a guy." And so I'm the guy. And then, so that's how I got involved in this, because he remembered all the crazy, weird stuff we do in biology. And I think he realized very astutely that what's missing in this space is there's a lot of woo-woo that people are focused on, but we need real hard biology to look at all of that mystical and other things that are happening to figure out, is there a science to all of this? And so this is where we've come in and really accelerated this to the next level. We're looking at stuff that most people don't look at in this space. And we're looking at everything and anything that happens to an individual, trying to identify what their biology is and how it's changing. So it's been great.
It's absolutely phenomenal. As a functional practitioner first, and then kind of got more into this other space, because it's really rare, I think, to find people like yourself, who were, left brain first, biology first, and then got into the breathing and got into the other stuff. Because a lot of folks do think that's on the woo-woo, and it's fantastic these days with quantum physics and right, all the things that we're finding out. It's becoming less and less woo-woo and more scientific. And I just think it's an amazing time to be alive in this space right now, and
Yeah.
how it's changing people's lives on a quantum level.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's been amazing. Um, and it's amazing to see that many people interested, right? I mean, these events just keep getting bigger and bigger, and there's more new people coming to this, which is just amazing to see.
It is absolutely. I said I want to go so bad. We are going to pause right here for commercial. When we come right back, we're going to dive deeper into the biology of meditation. What is he talking about? With bringing the biology to meditation, and a little bit more about the source and how he got involved with Dr. Joe. Well, you just said that. You said we need to know a guy. Well, we know a guy.
Yeah.
But yeah. So stay tuned. I'm rambling. We'll be right back.
When you're facing painful symptoms, a diagnosis of chronic Lyme, or an autoimmune disease, it can be overwhelming to navigate. You already know mainstream medicine doesn't have the tools to support you, and often even alternative medicine can become a maze of options without sustained results. Modern living puts significant stress on our systems. To counter this, we need a holistic approach, utilizing the latest technology and guided by physicians with decades of clinical experience. This is biological medicine. The Biomed Center in Scottsdale, Arizona is one of the most comprehensive clinics in the world, incorporating the latest diagnostics available, such as full-body MRIs, computer regulation thermography, heart rate variability, toxin screenings, and along with hormone and gut testing, they achieve the broadest look at all systems of the body. Customized protocols are developed by physicians who have treated thousands of patients in chronic disease by optimizing their biological performance. Save yourself years of suffering and searching with a visit to the Biomed Center, Scottsdale. The future of medicine is here.
Awesome. Please excuse the rambling. My brain is still a little inflamed, but we're getting there. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about the biology of meditation. Tell us, kind of dive deeper into that aspect for us.
Yeah, so what most people tend to fixate on when they're looking at meditation is they focus on the head, right? And I grant you the head is changing. You're using your mind to create new thoughts, new behaviors, new emotions. So you're gonna see a change there, right? And the gold standard has always been functional magnetic resonance imaging as a way to look to see what the structures of the brain are doing, how the different regions are connected, and how they're talking to each other. What we wanted to do was incorporate that element, but then go beyond. And so our big question was when someone goes into a deep meditative event, like a week-long Joe event, they're changing inside and out in unique kinds of ways. And so instead of continuing to focus on this, which we still do, what happens to the rest of that person? And so could we start getting information about the rest of the body and how it's integrating that new sense of self and whatever that is? And so we put anything and everything you can imagine on an individual to collect this data, and we take anything and everything we get from a person and then some, right? And so in our big studies, we've done what I call these quantum studies, these quests to analyze 1,000 humans meditating. What we did learn very early is the deep studies take a lot of effort on our part to do, because we have to do blood draws and we have to have nurses on staff and everything. And so we could only get 30, 40 people into each of these studies. And when we would solicit for a study, we would have 800-900 people apply to be in a study at an event. And so we did this for a couple events, and people would come up to me when I was at, presenting data and stuff. What do I have to do to get into your event? And so they're really upset that they can't be a guinea pig, right? I've never had that happen. It's really hard to find people who actually want to be poked and prodded.
As a functional practitioner, I'm
right.
like, ooh, I want to see the data.
Right. And in this space, everyone wants to be studied because they want to know what's happening, because they've questioned this their whole life. And so we invented these studies called quantum. And so we ran 2 quantum studies already, and we have a third one planned coming up for the 10-day event Joe's doing in Cancun at the end of this year. And it's to capture 1,000 people in the room. So you have almost 50% of the room you're measuring in some way. And so in these quantum studies, everyone gets a device on their wrist. So a Garmin device, so we're capturing their sleep, their activity, their HRV. So we're getting physiological measurements, that constant 27/4 feedback. Everyone in our studies does lots of health surveys. So we want to see how you feel about your health, your mental, emotional, physical well-being. And there's lots of standardized surveys to do this that then you can quantify, publish, and do those things around. In addition to that, because we want to make sure there's a biological component that's changing, we started looking at different elements we could capture. The hot area right now is microbiome. And so this is a very easy sample to get, right? I mean, there's books that kids read called Everybody Poops, and everybody poops. And so we're able to get a stool sample before and after an event. And so we can look to see how someone's microbiome is changing.
Shut up.
We get blood samples, and so we can see how their blood factors are changing, how their DNA is epigenetically being modified, how their transcripts are being changed. We're collecting tears in certain studies. So we look to see if you're expressing different things in your tears. We're capturing your urine to see what are the things that are leaving your body when you go through this transformative change. And then we're doing something really unique that I haven't seen anywhere else, is we're capturing a video diary. And so we have a prompt that everyone gets prompted to do. And we ask them unique questions about their experience. And we can analyze this in a really, really intriguing way, where now you can look at their face, their voice, their words, and combine this with all the biological and survey things we're looking at. So it really gives you this complete picture of what's happening to that individual. And so you go into this week-long event, you come out a new person, and we've captured what that new person is and what that old person is. And we're trying to define how this is uniquely different for that individual. And then possibly what are the overlaps for the whole group that's going through this experience. And when you have 1,000 people times 3 that we're doing these in, it gives you a lot of power to be able to make lots of claims. One of the crazy things that we knew we were going to get, but I didn't think it was going to be this rich of a data set, is the quantum studies represent 50, 60 diseases at one time, right? And so now we're looking at one drug, which is the week-long meditation intervention, and its impact on 50 diseases all at one time, which is crazy amazing.
That is absolutely. I remember watching The Source and just being in tears when he would show, the before brain and the after brain and all the
Yeah.
new, pathways that were, it just gave me so much hope for the world, because we've had this sick care model for so long. We've taken this aspect out of medicine, right,
Yeah.
for so long. And
Yeah.
it's just beautiful that you guys have been able to put it together in this way. So with all this data that you guys are collecting, like how much more data are you guys going to continue to collect? Like, what's the end goal?
Yeah, I don't think there is. I mean, there is an end goal for sure. I don't think there's an end to what we're going to collect. As we collect more and more information and we analyze the data, there's another question that comes up, and so we continue to design a next study to do that. As soon as that next study is on its way, my brain comes up with something else that I'm curious about, and that's the great part of being in this space and having a partner like Joe in all of this is he's like a kid in a candy shop as well with all of this, and he just has a very curious mind. Toby as well, the research team, and so we just keep coming up with unique ways to look at the experience and how that experience is evolving. What we're trying to define right now is what is the individual and what is the role of that individual in this week-long event, and what happens when that individual connects in a really, really unique way with everyone around them. And I really think this is where we see this acceleration of disease resolution and other things that we're seeing, is that there is a social connectedness that forms, and it's this connectedness to other people and other consciousnesses that you have that really leads to an evolution of who and what you are in a profoundly different way. And we want to define that, right? And this is getting to the core of who and what we are as a species, and what are we meant to do and where we meant to go. So it's exciting, and I don't think we'll ever run out of questions.
That's a brilliant answer. And of course, that's kind of what I was thinking as soon as I asked it. I'm like, well, it's just going to lead to another question. What's going to lead to another question? Like, why would you stop? Except
Yeah.
that I imagine taking that much data points and going through everything has got to be very cost,
It's very, I mean, and this
labor
is where
intensive.
Science Research Fund has really come in. And they had obligated a $10 million gift to UCSD to do this over the next 5 years, which is a drop in the bucket, right? Could you imagine how much money a drug company puts into one drug to cure one disease? $1 billion. They're putting $10 million into figuring out how meditation works against 50 diseases. I think it's pretty big bang for your buck to be able to do that. I don't think we can do it in $10 million. I think we need a lot more resources to do it, but it gets us the template of how to get to that space. And having those resources have allowed us to collect these enormously large data sets and start looking at them. We have the first set where we're looking at about 800 pre-post samples of microbiome, right? This doesn't exist in this space anywhere else. No one's ever looked at 800 people that have gone through the exact same intervention and can look at their gut microbiome before and after an event. And we see profound changes in a week, which shouldn't happen, but they do, right? And so we're trying to figure out how the mind is actually creating some of these changes. And it's just amazing and exciting to be in this space.
Absolutely. As we start to wrap up, what are some of your favorite studies that you've seen, some of the most amazing stories that you've witnessed firsthand?
Yeah, so one of the big things that my lab's been interested in for a long time is aging. And it's an interest that a lot of people have from a very narcissistic potential as well. And we met at a biohacker event, right? Where people want to live forever. And so this is a question that we as a species have. None of us really want to die, and we want that longevity and resiliency. And so we've been looking at this in a different kind of way. There were these crazy studies done about 5 to 6 decades ago, where they took a young animal and an old animal and they hooked them up by their circulatory systems. And it turns out that there's an exchange of factors from the young animal that transfers into the old animal, and it makes the old animal physiologically a lot younger.
Right.
Right. So, and this is parabiosis, this idea that you could pair chronologically different age groups, and you can see this transfer of material. And it turns out that this material, I mean, this is where all the exosomes and the platelet-rich plasma and all this stuff comes from. This idea that there's a youthfulness that can be transferred to an old body. So we did a play on this study in a very unique kind of way, and we did what we term mental parabiosis. And so could you mentally hook two people up together throughout the week, where they have to experience the week-long event, they have to eat together, meditate together, listen to go through the whole thing, all the 9 yards together. And the separation between these two individuals is 3 decades. And then we had individuals that went normally through the event like anyone else would, where they're not forced to interact with a 3-decade individual separation. What we see in this mental parabiosis is that there's a dramatic improvement in electrical activity in the brain, and it correlates to an improvement in cognition, which I would have not thought possible. In 7 days, both the young and the old people who are paired together become smarter, which is nuts.
That's incredible. I know with my history of Lyme disease, that's one of the biggest things that actually scares the crap out of me is as I age, Alzheimer's is a huge, dementia type of thing. So I'm always, that's part of the reason why I'm a biohacker is because I'm trying to do everything I can to make sure that this thing stays as sharp as it can for as long as it can. Right.
Yeah.
So how amazing is that? Give us one more.
So breast milk is really important, right? There's lots of amazing things that breast milk has in it for a growing child. And so thinking about the social connectedness, this is an experiment we came up with.
Where are you going with this, Hemal?
Right? So a woman came up to me at an event and said, I have something for you. I'm like, and I know what it was because my wife is pumped and we've seen lots of bags of breast milk. And I'm like, we're not doing that in this study. And then we thought about it. I'm like, we should look at this, right? Because it's the connection between a mother and a child, not only the bonding, but this is how she's exchanging her factors with this kid. And so we recruited, and it took a long time. We have, I think, almost 10 women now that we've completed collections in. And so we get a breast milk sample before the week-long event starts, and then we get a breast milk sample at the end of the week. And we're looking to see if there's factors that are changing in that breast milk in that time frame. And do they change in a positive, negative, sideways, no change kind of benefit? And what we see is that there's a dramatic change in the breast milk in a week, and it has biological potential. We know that breast milk has the capability to heal injuries and those kinds of things. What we see in the breast milk at the end of the week is there's an acceleration of that healing potential. And when you actually parse out all the proteins in there, the proteins predict that healing response. There's more of these healing proteins in the breast milk at the end of that week. To think that someone can create this biology in their body is insane. And then to think that you can move this and transfer this to another living being is even more crazy and amazing, right? And so that is just phenomenal. And so this idea that we're connected, right? Whether we pair our minds together or whether we're sharing fluids, right? The mom is sharing this breast milk with this kid. There's this amazing thing that happens when you go through this intensive week-long event. Information and new information is created, and this new information can be transferred to someone else, which is crazy amazing.
That is crazy amazing. Hey, make sure to go check out the source. Go to the show notes. I'll put my link in there. Highly recommend starting there.
Yeah, and they're releasing it, I believe, this weekend in 16 different languages. So it's going to go global.
Oh, that's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. I can't say thank you enough for what you and Dr. Joe and everybody else on the team are doing in the world for helping change consciousness, health, happiness, vitality. It is, someone like me who suffered for over 3 decades, it is, it's a blessing. And I'm so excited about it because I want other people to feel the same kind of blessings I've experienced from this type of work. So God bless you and all the work that you're doing. And thank you so much for taking the time out today to be with us.
Yep. Great being with you.
Awesome sauce. Everybody else, make sure to have a healthy day. If you learned anything, even one little nugget in any episode, please do not keep us a secret. Like, share, subscribe, and leave a review on Apple, on Spotify. That is how we get this information out there and we change this paradigm one person at a time. I can't do it by myself. I need your help. Also, make sure to know that Disclaimer, anything that you hear on this you cannot hold. Discovering Health LLC, Renegade Health Boss, The Lyme Boss, Heather Gray, liable for anything. Always consult your doctor before doing anything new. Do not take this as medical advice. This is your disclaimer. And then also, if you want to know the foundations of health, right? All that I talk about on how I get healthy, the absolute foundation: sleep, diet, exercise, what to eat, toxins, how to detox mold, all of it. You can get it in your own course at rhbcourses.com, right? Start your healing journey today, as little as $79. Start today, rhbcourses.com. Stay tuned, and thanks for joining us.